Hi, I'm Chef Rich. You're tuned into Shop Eat Thrive. Welcome to my channel. And if you have not subscribed, maybe you don't know me, go ahead and subscribe and get to know me. I'm new to YouTube, kinda, and I would love to have you join me on my journey from the beginning so that when this channel goes, you can say, I was there from the start. So today I want to talk about finances and in particular my experience growing up and what my parents, our parent, because I come from a single mommy home, taught me about finances and what I wish she taught me about finances. Oh my God, living in the Caribbean, we have some messed up theories, concepts, attitudes towards money. First thing that stood out for me was, even as a child when they said this, my mom and people around our area had this saying that children shouldn't know how to spend money, and they wouldn't, if you as a child wanted to take hold of money or to spend money or to have money in your possession, they would be like, that's not for children not supposed to know how to spend money. Which was strange for me even back then as a child. I thought, well, how am I supposed to learn? You're in school and they're telling you learn to count, and mind you, they're sending you to the shop and you better be by the right change, but children are not supposed to learn how to spend money. It was all just very confusing. So what that really did to us is that we never really owned spending money, as kids, because then there is no graduation out of that. Children should not spend money. You were just told that you shouldn't do that, but then as you go along, when you become a teenager or when you become an adult, you're expected to know how to spend money and how to handle money. So I think that was one of the most detrimental things financially for me growing up. So the other thing that really stood out for me, besides that whole children should not spend money thing, was that there seems to be an attitude that academic achievement outweighs financial gain or success. Literally, parents in saying kids would rather you have a degree, rather you look bright, than to think about you making money, which makes no kind of sense at all. And then that's why so much people are broke. That's why we seem to be going nowhere fast, because you have all these people coming back with degrees and they're in debt without a plan, in debt without a job, and then they come back and they get some job that has nothing at all to do with the degree that they studied, because our economies are so small, they're not diversified for the most part, and so there are very few job opportunities. But yet, again and again, parents are choosing to teach their children money isn't all, get an education. And at the end of the day, why did they get an education? You're supposed to get an education so you can get a job. And what's the end goal of getting a job? So isn't it to make money? But somehow everything got twisted, and we are told academics over financial freedom, academics over everything, even over your health. I know a lot of people who end up going to college and the conditions are so bad, and financially they're so strapped that they end up having such a bad diet, and many of them have strokes and even die after they get the degree. So another thing I've noticed too is our attitudes towards the bank. Except for one uncle growing up who would say, use the banks, that's what banks are for, right? Everybody else had this mortal fear of banks and of taking loans. And there was this idea, which it's not too bad, you don't want to accumulate too much debt, but as Mr. Kiyosaki always talk about using debt, leveraging debt to get where you're going. So you find that a lot of them would wait 20 years to save up to do one thing. But then, when you factor in the time and inflation and all of that, the money isn't worth the same thing that it was worth 20 years ago. And so progress is very, very slow, because there is this inert fear, and they pass it on to you. Like my mom would tell me, don't take no loan, don't sign for no loan for nobody, don't take no loan, So, and coming from people who have very limited financial strength, backative, as we say, it takes forever to get anything done. And oftentimes you can't get anything done because you just don't have the capital. And then if you're taught to never take a loan, to not trust banks, to not go through that process, your hands are tied pretty much. So you just find that a lot of people end up living very unfulfilled lives, not living up to the potential because of all these fears and a lot of these financial misunderstandings or lack of financial knowledge. I'll tell you this though, when it comes to school, when it comes to that student loan, there is no hesitation. There is no hesitation in taking a loan for that. There is no hesitation in getting a mortgage to build a big house. But once it comes to business, any sort of business venture, they are very afraid. Don't go for no loan. And I mean, a lot of that is changing now. But when I was growing up, that was a huge thing. You don't go put yourself in no debt. You make do with what you have. And yeah, it really killed a lot of dreams before they start. And I mean, it was even in the banking sector as well, because as I said, a lot of times when you did have persons try to get a loan, they oftentimes would not give the loan to you if you come from a certain social status, because it's seen as, what you're going for that? What are you going to do with that? You know, it's like, you sure you could handle that? So, I mean, attitudes are changing. Attitudes have been changing over the years. But, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of undoing, unlearning a lot of this fear. There's a lot of fear when it comes to finances, I find, in my society. Again, I'm in the Caribbean, St. Kitts to be exact, and I just found there was a lot of fear attached to, you know, taking these steps and where money is concerned. Yes, and another famous one they had is partnership is leaky ship. Now, there is this innate distrust of one another. And again, it's changing with younger generations, but at least my mom's generation, I'm back, and this is like the 60s back, 50s back. Some of them really go with this concept that you cannot trust anybody and that you cannot partner in anything. And again, coming from a group of people who financially, individually didn't have much financial strength, how could you then achieve a lot of stuff? You would have had to partner in some way. So this concept that a partnership is a leaky ship, like a ship that's leaking, bound to fail, it really limits us again in being able to gain financially, in being able to open businesses and to take on. So instead of having these people who were already financially strapped, disadvantaged, come together and really pool their resources to be able to achieve more, they didn't trust each other, and a lot of them still do not trust each other. So you have a lot of these one-off businesses, and you know, they have to build it from the ground up. You have a lot of our local businesses not even being owned by locals. Well, they're local now because they've been here for a few generations, but you have like Indian businesses that's like some of the largest, Lebanese, you have Chinese now coming in and doing a lot of that. And as I said, we are slowly, as the locals, which are predominantly black people, we're slowly learning. But if we had to follow to our parents and those type of advice, we still be bad here, you know. And the sad thing is they would go and support these other businesses before they even support their own, because again, there is this innate distrust of one another, you know, and it's sad. So that's something that they really put in us. Partnership is leaky ship. And last, this one wasn't really a saying, but it's just like an attitude that I noticed that they had. It's this concept of how much you want. Now again, I said a lot of businesses are owned by Chinese, Indians, and other races. But whenever a local would start gaining really big success, and you know, especially if you started diversifying, going into different types of businesses, or if you bought too many properties in their eyes, they would say things like, how much you want? How much you want? Left some for somebody else. How much you want? You know, and it's like this concept of, well, you don't got one, you shouldn't want any more. But then you'll see other races coming and they're building hotels. They're not even just building houses. They're buying up properties and they're doing this, and they don't care. They don't bat one eye, you know. But a local does it, and it's, you want too much. How much you want? You want too much. So that's something that to me that is like really, really bad. So I mean, if I had not undertaken, well, if I didn't have the personality I have and been on the spiritual journey that I've been on, I might have been victim to a lot of these mentalities and these ways of thinking, and things that really keep us poor and really limit us. So in closing, as I said, things are really changing, but these are some of the things that I've noticed that I was exposed to as a child growing up, and attitudes that, thank God, because of my spiritual journey again, I'm being exposed to certain things and different people, different races of people, different social classes. I have learned that these are things that I will have to deprogram from my mind, and I will have to make sure that I do not pass on to my children, so that future generations have a much better chance. Because in the energy and the time it is taking me to deprogram my mind from these attitudes. I mean, could you imagine how further along I would have been? But then again, that's our part of life. That's my path. I accept it, I embrace it, and I will move on and I will learn from it. But yeah, these are things that, as Caribbean people, we really have to start to look at and really pay attention to, and really try to not pass on to future generations, especially as Afro-Caribbean people, who are, the least financially free of all, the peoples in the Caribbean and stuff. We really need to work hard, and part of it is really being able to analyze ourselves objectively, our culture, to look at the things we tell ourselves and tell our children, and things that we've been taught, and really to see what works and what has not been working for us. So yeah, so in this video I just wanted to talk about little financial stuff and things that I'm trying to change, the challenges that I face coming from the background that I come from, and how I'm working to overcome it. And I'm hopeful, as I always say. I mean, we are dynamic people. I keep saying it in the Caribbean. We've been through a lot. We've been over a lot. We have survived a lot. And we have made tons of progress. And so if you enjoyed this video, if you want to hear more from me, you want to hear more of my experiences, or you feel like I talk in sense, or you feel like you resonate with me in some way, don't forget to like this video. As you can see, I'm new. So if you like this video, you help me to conquer that algorithm. You help me to pop up more in your feed, and you'll get to hear more from me. And oh my gosh, please do subscribe. Please do not forget to subscribe, so that you can see future videos. You can keep me in your feed, and you can help a sister out, okay, to grow this YouTube page. Help me to become one of the biggest Caribbean YouTubers ever. That's the goal. That's the goal, baby. Because we're always, reaching for the most. We're always reaching for the highest. But yes, I want to say thank you for whoever is looking at this video. I want to say thank you for taking the time to really look at it, to really allow me to share my perspective, to share where I am coming from as a Caribbean woman, as a Black Afro-Caribbean woman, and to really, join along my journey, my growth. I mean, I welcome you. I thank you so very much for the support. It is greatly appreciated. So again, thank you for tuning in. I'm Chef Rich. Again, this is Shop, Eat, Thrive. And mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you. Love you. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye.